Before you book Paris, you need to know this. This airport train is rough. This neighborhood might ruin your whole trip. And this friendship bracelet might end up costing you 30 euros if you don't know your way out of the scam. Paris is one of the most beautiful cities on the planet, but if you get it wrong, it can also be one of the most frustrating. Let's fix that before you go. By the end of this video, you won't just be another tourist with a map. You'll have a plan, and it will save you time, money, and frankly, embarrassment when you come to Paris. My name is Chris. I used to run a travel agency where we were planning trips to all over Europe. So trust me, I've been to Paris loads of time and I've made my fair share of mistakes here in this beautiful city. In this episode, we're going to sort out the 3 main things you need to know before coming to Paris: where to stay, how to get around, and what to actually do when you come here. And in a world where half the internet is AI generated, this is all based on my own trips to Paris, my own screw-ups, and my very biased opinions. So welcome to Before You Go Paris. First off, where to stay in Paris? Paris has 20 arrondissements spiraling out from the center. So the lower the number, the more central and expensive it is. But forget the numbers. What matters are the neighborhood names. Le Marais, Montmartre, Saint-Germain-des-Prés. I'll share a few amazing areas, and they are all quite different, and I'll also tell you where not to stay. But let's start on a brighter note with one of my favorite areas in Paris. Saint-Germain-des-Prés, the 6th arrondissement, is probably everything you're dreaming of when you're sitting at home and dreaming of Paris. You've got quirky little bookstores and cafes and these little narrow side alleys where it's booming with restaurants. I stayed here on my last trip to Paris and I was hands down a bit blown away. I had been around, the main bits of the area before, but actually staying here and waking up early, going down to the local bakery and seeing the streets without all the other people, that just made such a big difference, and it's an area I highly recommend. What makes Saint-Germain-des-Prés special is that it's central, but still feels kind of residential. You can walk to the Louvre in 20 minutes, Notre Dame in 15, the Luxembourg Gardens are right there, but at night it's quiet. You're not in the middle of tourist chaos. The downside? It's expensive. Hotels here start at 200 euros per night and go way up from there. But if you can afford it, Saint-Germain-des-Prés is Paris at its most charming. Best for couples, first-timers who want classic Paris, and people who don't mind spending a bit more. This is postcard Paris. We've got cobblestone lanes, narrow streets, cute bookstores and cozy cafes all over the place. And we've got some of the most stunning churches, Saint-Étienne-du-Mont, the Pantheon. We've also got the Sorbonne University, which adds to the atmosphere of the neighborhood. It's quite a young atmosphere. So you can actually find some rather cheap restaurants because some of these places are mainly catering to the local students. Yes, some might argue that the Latin Quarter is also touristy, and it is touristy because it's one of the most famous areas of Paris and an area that everybody wants to visit when they come to Paris for good reason. But if you just avoid the restaurants that are literally facing the main attractions, then you're good to go, and the Latin Quarter is amazing. Hotels here are a bit more affordable than over in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, but it's still very central. Best for first-timers who want to be in the heart of everything, and people who love bookshops and cafe culture. Le Marais is trendy, cool and hip. It's definitely the best place to stay if you're a young traveler who wants to, go to all the cool clothing stores and the cool little cafes and coffee shops you see on Instagram and TikTok. The mix of old and new is what makes Le Marais special.
You're also perfectly central. Notre Dame is a 15-minute walk, the Louvre is close, you've got great metro connections, and Le Marais is LGBTQ+ friendly. It's one of the most welcoming neighborhoods in Paris. The food scene here is probably the best in town, especially for us normies who don't have the cash or just don't want to splurge on a 9-course meal at a Michelin star restaurant. Best for people who want trendy but authentic, foodies, younger travelers, LGBTQ+ travelers, and anyone who wants to feel like a cool Parisian. The artsy bohemian area, Sacré-Cœur Basilica, cobblestone streets, artists painting in the squares. It's romantic, it's beautiful, and everyone knows it. So don't trust your guidebook from the 80s or ChatGPT when they call this part of town a hidden gem. However, it's still one of the best areas to stay in Paris.
And it is probably my favorite area here in the French capital. But what people don't really seem to grasp is just how steep this part of Paris actually is. So if you stay here, you just need to know that you'll be walking up and down hills all day to get anywhere, or at least to get to a metro station to take you away from all the hills. Just know that right below Sacré-Cœur is not the best place to stay in Montmartre. It's full of scammers and the restaurants are not where you want to be. Maybe head for, there's a nice street called Rue des Martyrs. If you can find a hotel around there, and I'll make sure to leave a link to some of my favorite ones in the description, of course. If you stay around there, you can literally just walk out, head down to Rue des Martyrs, and you'll find a nice place. And you can, find a new nice place on every day of your trip to Paris. And I'll also highly recommend the area just north of Sacré-Cœur. It seems like all the tourists are going up the hill to Sacré-Cœur, and then they kind of stop and go down again. The area just north of Sacré-Cœur is absolutely amazing, and if you want to probably mingle with the locals, that's where you want to be.
Alright, those are the best areas. Now let's talk about where not to stay, because I've made some of these mistakes, so you don't have to. Near the Eiffel Tower. Everyone thinks, oh, I'll stay near the Eiffel Tower, that'll be convenient. No, don't do this. The area right around the Eiffel Tower is not a cozy Parisian neighborhood. It's wide boulevards, expensive tourist trap restaurants charging 25 euros for a mediocre croque monsieur, and it's full of scammers everywhere. You're also not that central. The Eiffel Tower is actually kind of far from most other things you want to see. Visit the Eiffel Tower, take your photos, then go back to a real neighborhood. Near Châtelet. This is a major metro hub. You'll probably pass through here at some point, but don't stay here. It's just unpleasant, to be honest. It's super busy, crowded, it's got a chaotic, stressful vibe. It's where commuters rush through, not where you want to come home after a day of sightseeing. Too far from the center on your first trip to Paris. I made this mistake. I stayed way too far out of the city center on my first trip to Paris when I was a young boy because the hotel was cheap. And you know what? I felt like I was too far from all the things I was in Paris to see, and I spent ages on public transport. Now, if you've been to Paris 5 times and you want to explore local neighborhoods, great, stay farther out, but on your first trip you want to see the famous stuff. And that means staying somewhere central. Yes, you might save 50 euros a night, but you'll lose an hour every day commuting, and on a 3 to 4 day trip, that's half a day gone. Stay central, it's worth the extra money. Alright, you've picked your neighborhood. Now, before we talk about getting around, let's talk about one of the main reasons people come to Paris: the food.
Let's start with one of the most important things: the bakeries. This is where you should always get your breakfast or at least your snacks during the day here in Paris. It's also how you can actually keep costs down if you don't want to splurge every day on a restaurant at lunch, for example. You can just go to your local boulangerie and get a baguette sandwich for around 5 to 9 euros. So a croissant will usually cost you from 150 euros, maybe 160, and they are always amazing here in Paris. And a pain au chocolat is a little bit more, maybe 180 or something like that, but it's a big boy and it's always so nice. Every time I'm here, my morning routine is that we need to hit up a bakery, a boulangerie, and get a morning croissant and a cup of coffee as well. And honestly, this is one of the main things I miss when I'm back home and I'm not in Paris. It's just going to literally any local bakery. You don't need to go to those Instagram famous spots with a long line of bloody travel influencers outside. Just go to any local bakery here in Paris where there might even be a line of locals, and it will be good. Paris bakeries never really let you down.
Lunch is often cheaper than dinner at the same restaurants. Many places have menu du midi, which is the lunch menu where you can get like 2 or 3 courses for maybe 25 euros. Dinner is where Parisians take their time, so expect meals to last over 2 hours. Don't rush, that's the point. It's a bit like in Italy where dinner is the highlight of the day and it's a whole event. And remember, most restaurants close between lunch and dinner, so they'll be closed from like 3 to 7 p.m. Don't try to eat at 5 p.m. unless you're at a cafe or a brasserie. Avoid restaurants right next to major tourist sites. They are expensive and low quality. This is basic Europe travel advice, but it needs to be said anyways because someone are keeping these places alive somehow. So when you're done sightseeing, walk 10 minutes into a neighborhood. That's where the locals eat. And remember, Paris is an international city. French food is amazing, but don't feel like you have to eat French food every meal. The Vietnamese, Middle Eastern and even Mexican food here is fantastic. Also, if a restaurant has menus in 5 languages with photos, skip it. Alright, you know where to stay, you know where to eat. Now, let's talk about actually getting around this city. Most of you will be landing at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, CDG, about 35 kilometers northeast of the city. And this is where I would love to tell you about the fast, easy and awesome train from the airport. But unfortunately, the train from Charles de Gaulle to Paris is one of the worst and trashiest airport trains in Europe. But it's also the cheapest option, so let me break down your choices. Option 1. The RERB train. This is what I almost always take because it's cheap and relatively fast. On paper, it's not bad. 30 minutes from CDG to Gare du Nord, then you're connected to the metro network, and a single ticket is only 13 euros. But the train is old, the seats are always a bit dirty and there's not enough space for luggage. During peak hours, you're standing with your suitcase squeezed between other tired tourists and people just wanting to get home from work. But if you can handle 30 minutes of unpleasantness, it's 13 euros versus 50 euros plus. Option 2. Official taxis. If you walk outside any terminal at CDG, you'll see the official taxi rank. These are legitimate regulated taxis, so you won't get scammed if you use the official taxi stand. Fixed rates are 56 euros to the right bank, you know, the north of the Seine, and 65 euros to the left bank, which is south of the Seine. Journey time is about 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic, and the traffic can be rather bad. I actually prefer this over the official taxis. You know the price up front, there's no language barrier and you can track your driver. Of course you'd need to have data on your phone, so maybe get an eSIM before arriving in Paris. Just open the app, book the car, walk outside to the designated pickup area done. During peak hours, however, prices can surge, but even then it's usually competitive with the official taxis. Option 4 is the bus. This one goes directly from Charles de Gaulle to Opéra. It costs 13 euros, takes about an hour, and it's more comfortable than the train. You've got proper bus seats and space for luggage, and it's also maybe a good middle ground if you're staying near Opéra or just don't want to deal with the train system of Paris just yet. Paris has another airport. Orly is smaller than Charles de Gaulle and closer to the city, so it only takes 25 minutes to go from Orly airport to central Paris. No transfers, no stress, and the ticket costs only 13 euros. Taxis from Orly have fixed rates too. 36 euros to the left bank and 45 euros to the right bank. So if you're booking flights and have a choice between Charles de Gaulle and Orly, maybe pick Orly. It's closer, it's easier, and now with the metro line 14, it's actually really convenient. Alright, you've made it from the airport to Paris. Now let's talk about the metro. This is going to be your best friend for the rest of your trip. Yes, some stations smell like pee, but the system works, it's cheap and it goes everywhere you need to go. Paris changed the whole ticket system in 2025, so if you've been before, forget everything you know. Here's the only stuff you actually need to know now. A single ticket costs 250 euros. One price, anywhere in the city, no zone madness. Buses and trams are 2 euro, and yeah, annoyingly, if you switch from metro to bus, that's a new ticket. Those old paper tickets, they're basically gone and you'll be using a card or your phone. So here's what I recommend you do. Get a Navigo Easy card for 2 euros. Load money or tickets on it at any machine or use the RATP app and buy digital tickets. If you're doing more than 5 rides in one day, grab a Navigo Day Pass for about 12 euros. That will give you unlimited metro, trains, buses and trams inside the city. Don't overthink it. For most trips, a Navigo Easy with around 20 euros on it will easily cover a long weekend in Paris. Or you can just buy single tickets in the app if you're unsure about how much you'll be using the metro. I use Bolt. It's a bit like Uber but often cheaper. Just download the app, book a ride and you're done. Uber works too in Paris. Both are easy, you know the price up front and there's no language barrier. Regular taxis exist of course, and you can hail them on the street or use the taxi stands. But I prefer Bolt or Uber because you know exactly what you're paying. Now, let's talk about what you should actually do in this city. First of all, don't try to cover everything on your first trip to Paris. The city has way too many attractions to visit in a few days. Let me give you the essentials, the things you actually need to do. Start with this on your first day. A boat tour on the Seine is the best way to orient yourself in Paris. You'll pass all the major landmarks from the water. It gives you a sense of how the city is laid out and it's relaxing. You're off your feet, away from the traffic, just enjoying the view. Most cruises are about an hour and cost 15 to 20 euros. Book online or just show up at the docks near the Eiffel Tower or at any stop along the Seine. Obviously, yes, it's touristy, yes, everyone goes, yes, you should do it. Book tickets online weeks in advance, they sell out fast, and I'd recommend going to the second floor, not the top one. The second floor is less crowded and you're not stuck in a tiny enclosed space with 200 other people. And remember, you can't see the Eiffel Tower from inside the Eiffel Tower, so for great views of the tower, go to Trocadero Gardens across the river or head up to the Montparnasse Towers. The world's most famous museum. Mona Lisa, Venus de Milo, thousands of masterpieces. Guys, don't try to see everything in here because you can't. The Louvre is massive. You could easily spend like 3 days in here and still not see it all. The Pantheon is where Paris buries
its most famous, or France, Paris, its most famous people. Voltaire, Marie Curie, Rousseau, all the great guys. And it's a grand old place. It costs only 13 euros to get in there, and it's one of those must-see things that you should definitely check out once you're here. And I also want to introduce you to another little rule of Paris, and that is that whenever you see a church here, you don't skip it. You head inside, because right around the corner from Pantheon is another amazing church that people don't really seem to know about. It's called Saint Etienne du Mont. I remember when I went to the Pantheon and I literally stumbled upon the church right behind it, and it's only like 100 meters from here. Saint Etienne du Mont, guys, it's free to enter. You really should check it out.
This is one of my absolute favorite spots in Paris, the white Basilica on the hill in Montmartre. It's free to enter, and outside there are stunning views over the entire city. But get there early, guys. Some of my best Paris memories are running around Montmartre and running up the stairs all the way up Sacré-Cœur at around 8 in the morning. To experience the sunrise from Sacré-Cœur without that many other people was just mind-blowing. But by 10 AM it's already packed. It's still great, but if you got the option, go there early in the morning. It's a completely different experience. One of Paris's most beautiful parks. Locals come here to read, have picnics, play chess and just relax. It's free, it's central, literally right between the Latin Quarter and Saint-Germain-des-Prés, and it's a perfect break when you're overwhelmed by the city. Grab a coffee, sit by the fountain, people watch. This is Paris. Those viral TikTok videos aren't lying. This might be the most beautiful building I've ever seen. You don't need to see an opera, just pay 10 euros to tour the building. This is one of those things that looks impressive in photos, but is genuinely overwhelming in person too. A 10 euro entry fee, absolutely worth it. If you like impressionist art like Monet, Van Gogh and all those lads, this is better than the Louvre. It's a converted train station, so the building itself is stunning too. Way less overwhelming than the Louvre, more focused, easier to actually enjoy the art without getting exhausted. It's a 16 euro entry fee, book online to skip the entrance line. About 25 kilometers outside of Paris, but easy to reach. Take the RERC from central Paris, it takes about 40 minutes. The Palace of Versailles is absolutely massive. Stunning gardens, ridiculous wealth on display, incredible history. And my most important tip, go on a weekday if humanly possible. Weekends are absolute chaos. There are crowds everywhere and long lines for everything. It's not fun. Weekdays are so much better. If you can only go on weekends, arrive right when it opens at 9 AM, or honestly consider skipping it. It's not worth spending your whole day in lines. If you're a fan of Jim Morrison, Oscar Wilde, Chopin, or just appreciate beautiful, peaceful spaces, visit Pére Lachaise Cemetery. It's one of the most gorgeous cemeteries I've ever been to. Google Maps has mapped the celebrity graves, so they're easy to find if you want to visit Jim Morrison or Oscar Wilde. Just remember, it is a cemetery, don't treat it like Disneyland. Okay, before you go, let me give you some reality checks and practical tips that will actually make your trip to Paris better.
Unfortunately, here in Paris, we've got some very aggressive bracelet scammers, and you're definitely gonna see them up around Sacré-Cœur, but they are anywhere where us tourists go. And the scam works this way, that a friendly guy will come up to you and he will tie a friendship bracelet on your wrist, and he'll be very friendly, and then once you try to leave, he'll grab you and demand money, basically. This scam is all over Europe, but it's just way worse here in Paris, and it's frankly a little bit crazy how, like, you can't even exit the Sacré-Cœur area. So what you want to do is just completely ignore these guys, or maybe just say a firm no, and don't let them tie anything on your wrist. Just walk straight past them, because they work in groups and they tend to get quite aggressive. So just try and ignore them, and hopefully the French police one day, they might do something about this massive problem.
Forget everything you've heard about rude French people. The secret is just say bonjour when you enter shops or restaurants. That's it. Basic politeness goes a long way in Paris. Most people also speak enough English to help you. Parisians are actually quite lovely if you just treat them with respect.
Bonjour, deux pains au chocolat et un croissant.
Tap water at restaurants is free in Paris. Don't waste money on bottled water unless you prefer it. Parisians eat dinner around 8 p.m. and many restaurants close between lunch and dinner. If you want to eat at 6 p.m, you'll have an easier time getting tables, because most locals aren't eating yet and some restaurants might not even be open. Most Parisians aren't early risers. Before 10 a.m, it's mostly tourists you'll see in the streets. Use this to your advantage for sightseeing without crowds.
Alright my friends, that was Before You Go Paris, my new series where I go in hard on destinations that I know a lot about and I absolutely love. I would be very interested to hear what you thought about this new concept, so let me know in the comments, and thanks a lot for watching.